Queen. Whew. Thank you for joining when you join. How's everybody's Wednesday? Um, Lord, I'm going to just pray. Lord, I just want to thank you for getting us here now. Whenever we hear or listen to this podcast, Lord, I just want to thank you for getting us to the place of right now. God, I pray that, you go before us in all the things that we do, not just on this podcast, but everything that we do. And in your mighty son's name, Jesus, amen. Okay, so just gonna go ahead and get right in it, guys. I'm hot and I do not know why it's so hot in here. But child, let me see. Hold on. I do not know. Well, it's like it just got hot or something. But I do want to talk to you guys about some things like that has just kind of come up recently, just in the season. Um, I know like everybody's going through a lot of, it seems like people are always going through some type of transition or something. Hey girl, hey, it's nice to see you. I know we're all going through like transitions. Some of them are great and amazing and all of that. And I just want to talk about, the transition of being on land versus being in the water. So let's talk about it from the perspective of being on land. On land is something you grew up on, you know. It is the way of life. It is the way we naturally move around. When you've grown up being on land, like all of us have naturally, um, getting in the water, if you've never been in the water to learn how to swim or be on a boat or even going on a cruise ship, it's going to be a little different. It's going to feel different. It's going to have you prepare in a way that is going to be outside the box of how you've ever prepared for anything else. And it's going to require a different part of you, but it's going to still be you. So let's just narrow it down to learning how to swim. When you learn how to swim and you get in the water, usually you have instructors there with you. You have a coach of some sort. You are usually, learning the steps and things and whatnot. And it feels awkward. It feels strange because usually on land there is something that you can grab onto or hold on to if you're about to fall, or you know how to brace for impact if you do fall, or you know how to maneuver your body in a way to where even if you do get hurt, it may be less than what it would be if you didn't know how to maneuver. But remember, it took time to learn how to walk too. It took time to learn how to walk because even though you're used to and you're accustomed to being on land, at one point you were in the womb and you were surrounded by also water. You didn't need to use your legs and your arms. You needed to be able to stay stationary in buoyancy and absorb your umbilical cord and all the things in the amniotic fluid. So when you begin to walk, you fell a lot and it was awkward and you might have hurt yourself a lot. And now we learn how to catch ourselves. And it's not that we don't fall still, but now we kind of know how to recover and move forward quickly. And that's how this is going to be, going back to the water. Going back to the water is not going to be like the water you came from, or it's not going to be like the land that you stood on, but it is going to require parts of you that you haven't used in a long time. It's going to require you learning how to trust God to carry you through the water. It's going to require you to learn how to allow your limbs to do things that they didn't do before. It's going to require you letting go of the need to hold on to everything and just swim. Being in the water is going to require you to move your body in an unfamiliar way, and it's going to feel scary at first. But that's why the instructor is in the water. The instructor is in the water and he's not going to let you go. But it is going to require more trust. It is going to require letting go. It is going to require what feels like vulnerability and understanding the true freedom in that. You're going to have to begin to be open to thinking outside the box, expecting things outside the box. You're going to have to allow your mind to let go of all the things that you would do if you were on land in order to swim in the water. And as you get used to swimming, you're going to start seeing how powerful you are in the water, how fast you can move in the water versus walking or running, how low, how deep you can dive, and all the games you can play in the water. But it's going to require you first to let go of everything that you knew on land in order to embrace everything you can do in the water. A lot of our transitions right now are about learning how to swim in the water. And we feel uncomfortable and it feels unfamiliar. But if you don't take the opportunity, you'll never know yourself in this way. You'll never know what it's like in this position in life to be successful. And let's face it, you can gain and heal and grow stronger in the water and take that strength and use it on land. This is why they have water therapy. Water therapy is a way to gain strength and the ability and mobility of the muscles and the limbs without putting the impact of weight and gravity on them, so that healing can be promoted while also getting strong. So either you're in the water because you're going into purpose, or you're in the water for healing. But either way, this season probably feels like a lot like water. It may feel like you're being overwhelmed and the pressure on your chest is overwhelming, because we all know when you first step into the pool and you get down in there, the pressure, the water pressure feels different. It feels different than gravity. It feels like it's pushing in on you versus pulling down on you. But you are capable. You are capable, but you have to learn how it is for you to swim in the water. So I say this so I can segue to accepting the changes that are necessary in order to be our greater selves in every new position we have. If you try to just walk in the water, you would drown. Most likely as the water gets deeper. If your response to the water is always the way you respond to the land, you will not be effective. I am, as a person, have been going through a lot of changes and a lot of transitions, but more within, and I can begin to see them manifesting without. Not without, but on the outside of me. And the reason why I want to share this is because I've learned that it is just my turn to trust God in the water. A lot of times when I've had the opportunity to get in the water with God and trust Him in the pool, I didn't, or I tried to control the narrative, or I tried to do what I would do when I was on land. But you can't run in water; you can only swim. And I feel like now, if I really want things to change, I have to be willing to allow myself the opportunity to exercise new skills in the water. This is the things that are the faith. When you make new commitments to God, you are going to go through something. And it's not because God doesn't know you can do it, but you need to know that you can do it. You need a trying of your faith sometimes. It's not that God would want you to go through the fear and the anxiety, but it's necessary for you to realize that those things may live in your body, and it's time to expel those things. It's time to face it so that you don't have to live it, so that you can create a new lifestyle for yourself, identifying differently, and opening and broadening your mind to all the possibilities that you did not before. But if you want to be hesitant and difficult, you're going to continue to try to embrace things that are new in an old way. I am in a place where I believe this is my opportunity. This is my opportunity to show God that I can embrace where I'm at, despite what it looks like, because it is different and it is new. I refuse to respond to God the way I used to before. I refuse to respond to him in a question scenario like, okay, well, how deep does the water really go, God? And why are you really asking me to get in this water? And why do we have to do the water? Why can't we do something on land? So you really want me to get all the way in? Do I have to put all of my body in? Are you going to hold me the whole time? Will these floaties really work, God? I mean, I know I'm not in the place where I want to question anything because I am so tired of being on land. I am tired of only knowing certain things about how much I can do in this place, when there is so many other areas that I could expand myself in it and grow in places that I never thought of before. I do not want to limit myself, and I do not want to limit God. God is calling me to the water. He's calling me to the water. And thank you. He's calling me to the water, and I am in a place to where it's all or nothing. I'm at the place where I'm ready to jump in, and God's going to have to just catch me because I spent enough time being afraid on land. I'm grateful for as much as I can do on land, but if you don't notice, our earth is made up of more water than it is land, and our bodies are also made of the same percentage of water. Technically, the earth and humanity is made up of 70% water. We're made up of 70% water. This is why we need water. We need water for everything. And so when you think about it, if I'm only curious about staying on the land, then I'm only getting to know about 30% of myself. I only am getting to know a third of my ability. I'm only getting to explore the third of my gifts and my purpose, and I'm only going to get to see them in one way. And God has talked to me enough on the land. And sometimes things aren't working is because you need to move with the voice of God. The voice of God is walking you through the wilderness and through the desert and through rainy days. He's taking you up mountains and hills, but now he's calling you to the water. And you're like, God, I know what to do with a mountain. I know what to do with a hill. I know what to do with a ditch. I know even what to do with the cleft of the rock. I know how to be hidden. God said, no, but I need you to splash around in the water. And you don't want to splash around in the water because you see others in the water. And some of them can swim a little bit better than you, in your opinion. And some of them have been in the water a little bit longer, and seem like they know what they're doing. And to be in the water is to be exposed, and it's to be seen because there's more of it. And there's no place to hide from, and you have to allow yourself to be seen, learning something new. You have to be okay with being exposed as you learn. And you don't want to be judged. But see, while you're looking at everybody else swimming, it took them some time too. And who knows how long it really took them to learn how to swim in that water, and who knows how capable you are. See, you don't even know how masterful you are in the water. And I have a example I want to give. In the Olympics, they have the swimming Olympics and the races. Well, I was watching the other day. I saw a reel and or a short story on I don't know, I think it was YouTube, and it was the race in the water. They were racing in the water, and they had to go back like 2 or 3 times or whatever. And this one guy, he was ahead of everyone, and I was like, "Oh my God, he's really getting it. He's really getting." I think it was China or something like that, and he was really getting it. And I never noticed his arms come up. I saw everybody else's arms come up, and then they showed the view from within the water going up. This man was swimming with no arms. He was swimming with no arms, and the people with both legs and both arms still were struggling to keep up with the man with no arms. His legs were so powerful that he gave them a run for their money. And usually when you get to the end of the pool, you have to touch and then kick away. He had to touch with his head. So he was putting himself at more risk at hurting himself, hurting his neck, to be able to know when he met the other end. And see, this is the thing. They also had it on him because they didn't have to wait until their head touches the other side on the edge of the pool. They get to reach out with their hand and know, and then kick away. He had to wait until his head. That's, you know how much more room they get, and he's in the same race. And this man, I don't even know how he's keeping his breath, how he's maneuvering himself so well, but he figured out how to get in the water, and not just get in the water, but place. And honestly, if you look at it, he really won because his head touches the thing before the man hits his opponent hits the edge of the pool. But the fact that he was swimming in that pool with no arms, I've never seen anything like it. And he did it in front of everybody. He did it being seen. He did it at what people would say is a great disadvantage. So just because you don't have what somebody else has in the water doesn't mean you won't be great. Sometimes it is the glory of God that you show up in the space the way that you do, so people can see the power of God behind you. They need to see a little bit of imperfection to understand the perfection of God, that it is his will, it is his ability, it is his doing for the you soar and sell, so that no matter how great they are, that they cannot be greater than what you are doing in that position, because God has put you there. You have to be willing to be seen as you are so that God can be seen as he is. You have to be willing to show up in your humanity and show up in your imperfection so that God can show up and be the perfect thing. You are an example. Hey girl, you're an example. I told a friend this. I said, I realize now that the day I gave my life to the Lord is the day, and honestly, even before then, because it was always written in time that I would, and this is what I believe, but the day I gave my life to the Lord, I didn't just give him my living life. I gave him all the pains I would ever go through, all the traumas I've ever been through, all the things that I would ever do, all the excelling and the falling. It all belonged to him. Sicknesses and diseases all belong to God. They all of it for his glory. And what's great about it is that all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and who are called according to his purpose. And that means that no matter what happens, my little life is a part of his big purpose. And since I gave it to him, he takes responsibility for my pain. He takes responsibility for my sickness. He takes responsibility for my triumphs. He takes responsibility for my failures. It is when he died on the cross. When he died on the cross for me, he covered all of it. All he needs me to do is be accountable for what I hear. Be accountable to listen and come. Be accountable enough for that. He will cover the rest. He will cover the rest. So it gives me hope that no matter what I go through, that it will all be used for my good, and it will all be used for the glory of God, and that everything that is in my life now, it doesn't matter how many mistakes I've made, will be used for the greater good. It'll be used for his purpose. It has to be, because I have given over everything to him. When I say, God, I give you my life, I pray that you come into it and change my heart. When I did that, I gave him everything so that he can use it for the glory of himself, the glory of God. He gets the glory out of everything. And so when I'm being called to the water, I'm getting the opportunity to align myself with the intention of God for my life, for his purpose. I'm getting the opportunity to jump in and just go for it, because now that I know that everything that I do, no matter how well I do it or how great I am at it, he is going to be in it. I win. So it doesn't matter if people see it looks like I'm too disabled to be where I'm at. It doesn't matter if it looks like I can do it. God is going to give me the strength. If all I had were 2 legs, he would give me the strength and the power to do it. I literally saw this man do this. Why can't I show up to my life in my purpose and give it all that I have, despite what the enemy has tried to make me feel bad about, despite what the world has said I shouldn't be able to do. For crying out loud, the bee can fly, but it took years for them to figure it out, that why the bee could fly, because scientifically it was not supposed to be able to fly. The size of its body and its wingspan and how it moved was scientifically supposed to be in capability and not an ability. It's like seeing an ostrich fly. How is an ostrich flying when its wings are not big enough? On the scale of a bee. Now they know, but it took them forever to understand the hidden mission. Are short of that when you do not allow yourself to know the other 70%. When you don't allow yourself to really dive in the water, when you don't allow yourself to move into something new, you're limiting the mystery. You're limiting finding out what God can really do with what you have. You don't even know your full capacity. Sometimes you're greater in the water than you ever would have been on land. Sometimes you're greater in the new place than you ever would have been in the old. You know, it says that the man in the disciple that said, it was good that I was afflicted. It was good that I was afflicted. Even Will Smith's new song, he talks about how it was good he was afflicted, how it was good he went through things. And people don't understand it. But like, why would you think that's good that you went through things? Why would you think that's okay? Well, I recognize a commonality in provision and in purpose. In provision is a place where nothing is working out and you need God for everything, because you're either low on money, you're either low on support, you're either low on something. Something is lacking so heavily that it forces you to kneel and look at God. It's not because God is so arrogant or cocky and he takes pleasure in it. It is to teach you that in the purpose, because it's so big, that what you did to make it through a dark season for provision is how you live now, in the posture of looking for God. You have to look for him consistently. It has to become a mental, emotional, spiritual, and natural lifestyle where you look for him, because the purpose is so much greater than you. The hidden mystery of your inner ability is so much bigger than you can think or imagine. It's going to take God to discover it. It's going to take God for you to really walk it out. It's so big that the only thing God could ever give you is a dream, in order to encourage the effort, the push through the dark places. But now, if you've noticed, some of the dreams are more in the past than they are in the present, meaning that a lot of the times in the past, God would give you a dream or give you vision or give you more dreams or give you, and now it just seems like all you can do is refer to that dream that you had 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 6 years ago. And it doesn't seem like it's anything as new or as fresh, as frequent, because you're getting more to the place where dream is becoming reality. And the dream versus the reality feels way different. And we talked about this in another podcast, being at your destination, how it feels when you arrive versus how it feels when you looked at the brochure. We have to accept the fact that for us to do something different in a new place, we're going to feel weird. And we have to also accept the fact, to be successful in this place, we have to seek God for every part of it. We have to understand that this has to become the lifestyle. That provision was training ground for purpose. It was good I was afflicted, because now I know if I were not, I wouldn't know to run to God and jump. It was good I was afflicted, because it helped me humble myself and not operate in pride, so that when I came to the purpose that seemed like it was overwhelming me, I would lean on God without a shadow of a doubt. It was good I was afflicted, because it taught me that God has a way out of everything, and a path through anything. It was good I was afflicted, because it showed me no matter how big the problem is and how small I feel and how weak I feel, that God's strength is made visible through my weakness. I need to allow myself to be weak. God calls us the bride. And if you notice, God also calls the woman the weaker vessel. And people are like, weak? What you mean by weak? Don't get offended. It also takes a responsibility in one way away and adds another. Technically and scientifically, a man's muscle mass is bigger, deeper, wider, and their fat tissue or their fat cells are less, because a woman needs more fat to carry a baby. And so we gain weight in our hips in certain spaces a lot sooner, a lot faster, because that's what we would need to carry a baby. To protect us, we have to have that extra element for the baby. So if we're called the bride, which is the weaker vessel, and Jesus is called the bridegroom, which means he's the stronger vessel, that means that we are always the weaker. And that means that he is always the groom. That means he is always the one that needs to be in the position to come help us, to come save us, to come carry us, to show up where we need him to. But that also means that we carry something. But without him, it cannot come forth. That means that we need to be accountable for what we carry, but let him be responsible for who we are, in the sense of he gets the glory out of everything. Now, I'm not saying that you don't have a responsibility technically to who you are and what you do in the things in life, but I'm saying God, it wants to cover all things. He gets the glory out of all things when you lay your life in front of him, and when you lay your issue or your moment or whatever you're going through in front of him. If you lay good things, your children, your husband, your wife, when you lay it at his feet for him to take and multiply. This is what he means. Let me carry this. Let me take up the responsibility for this. It doesn't mean that you don't need to be accountable, but let me carry you in the good, in the bad, in the ugly, because all of it can be overwhelming. The good can feel so bad sometimes because it's so new and overwhelming. But it doesn't take the fact away that it's good. It's just something with layers. You can surrender your mind and your spirit over to God. This is a place where we need to surrender. It is time to let it go. It is time to let go of the thinking, trying to figure. It's time to not allow the enemy to continue to use the same weapons against you. It is really time to surrender, to allow your mind to be led by the mind of God. Because if your mind is led by the mind of God, and the enemy does not know the mind of God, but because we are connected to the Spirit of God that knows the mind of God, and we are being led by that, even though we don't always know what's going on, the enemy cannot guess your moves. It messes up his strategy against you, because he can never interpret the mind of God. Your biggest strategy is to look for God. Your biggest strategy is to not just look for God, but look for him immediately. Every time you feel a switch up, every time you feel something change, every time you feel something move differently, look for him. Your biggest strategy is to get good at looking for God, jumping to God, asking God, taking a pause and say, God, well, what do you want me to do with this? Your biggest strategy is to seek him. That's the biggest thing, the best thing you could do. And then listen. Let him give you a prayer to be able to follow through on the strategy. So, in this season, we are learning to look for God, to hear him, his spirit. and allow him to show us things, give us wisdom, and then give us timing on when to act, which is strategy. The timing on when and how, strategy. And then the strength to do so. So hear the Lord. Hear the Spirit of God. Have the wisdom to operate in that. And seek his joy. Give him praise and worship so that the joy of the Lord can be your strength to follow through. Because the enemy knows if the joy of the Lord is your strength, then he will try to continue to mess with your joy. But this is your opportunity to not allow old things to move you in the way that they used to. This is your opportunity to put your faith to work. This is your opportunity to say, you know what, I trusted him before I saw it. This is your opportunity to give him glory before it happens in your natural, because you already know it has happened in the timeline of God. In the timeline of God. This is your opportunity. That I already knew he was going to do it. This is your opportunity, not be surprised by when he do it, but even when he does it, still be astonished because it's God, but not be surprised because he said he was. See, God said what he said, what he said, what he said. He said what he said. Okay, he said it, and so this is your opportunity to know this and live by it, and to align your actions higher than your thoughts, because you're going to have the thoughts. It doesn't mean that you're not going to question things or that you're not going to wonder sometimes. Just means that you decide to align your thoughts to the thought of God versus the natural thoughts that come. It means that when something happens, you decide to ask God about it first before you say to yourself, maybe I should do it this way. And even when you do, maybe roll back and be like, wait a second, maybe I should ask God. It means that you come to it faster, quicker, sooner. Living in the promise, living in the purpose. The lifestyle is seek to be closer to God so you can hear him. Ask for wisdom, because wisdom gives you insight on how and when to do things and what to say, when to say it. And then praise him, because when we praise the Lord, we encounter the Spirit of God, and that gives us the strength, and the joy of the Lord overtakes us despite what it looks like. And that's where our strength comes from. Rinse, wash, recycle, and repeat, pretty much. But what we cannot do is lean to our own thinking, because that's what the enemy's distraction is. He's not going to stop the opportunities he can't stop the opportunities that are coming for you. But what he can do is distract you so you won't realize that you're in the place of opportunity. You don't even realize that all this that's happening is your opportunity to give God glory. It's an opportunity to not be negative. It's an opportunity to be moved by God. It's an opportunity for the strategy of the enemy not to work against you. It's an opportunity to let God show up in your life in another way. It's an opportunity to trust him anyway. It's easy to trust somebody once they've already shown you what you wanted them to do first. But it's something else to be said about giving God room when he's already done enough in the past in a new place. It's something to be said to say, you know what? I know that I know that I know, even though I never came this way before, that God means what he says about me, and I'm going to stand on that first, even though I get worried, even though I get concerned, even though you go through these things that are natural things. It doesn't mean that you have to deny that. It means that no matter if I feel it, the enemy is not going to be able to tell where I'm at, because I am not going to live based out of how I feel. I'm not going to stay on land. I'm about to run into God's arm, because the safest place I can be is in his presence. And if in his presence is me going left and then going right and then going up and then going down, if all he needs me to do that day is up, down, left, and that's all I do, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stay in his presence. The best thing I could do is keep looking for him. Well, God, where are you at? Is God over there? Like a little 2-year-old. Is my mama in here? Where's my mama at? Got a little baby looks for their parent, because they may not be able to see him, but they're listening. They are not even in the womb anymore, but they are listening for the voice because that's where they get their security. It is not in watching other people and comparing themselves. Comparison is a killer of dreams and a killer of purpose. You cannot compare because you don't even know the mystery of God that is sown into you. But you do need to understand that your life that can be here today and gone tomorrow is a part of the grand purpose of God, the greatest master plan that he has. It's a part of God's will and purpose. It has something to do with that. It has its own place in it. So it's important because it's your life. And the fact that it can be here today and gone tomorrow ups the value, ups the stakes. You operating from the mind of God is greater and will serve you better in any place in life than you operating fear, trauma, stubbornness, pride, unforgiveness, being too indecisive. Well, I don't know. I don't double-minded. You can't even operate when you're double-minded. You miss out on opportunities all the time when you do that. But if you decide to put all those things underneath and submit them to God and surrender to him in action, you know what? I usually yell right now, and I really want to, but I know God is greater than how I feel. Sometimes we have to pause to acknowledge what we're going through so that we can acknowledge God and what he can. It's not to erase your humanity. It's not to take away, but it's to show that God can do anything as long as you give yourself over to him. Just like the man swimming in the race with no arms. It didn't change that he had no arms. He just found a way to swim. Are you willing to allow God to show you how you can swim? Are you willing to let him show you that maybe you don't have what they have, but what you do got is powerful? Are you tired of limiting yourself because of the fear of the water? Are you tired of having to feel like you got to always look over your own shoulder, protect yourself? Are you tired of fighting? Are you tired of feeling like you're about to have a heart attack? Are you tired of feeling like you're about to pass out? Are you tired of being sick? Are you tired of carrying it all? Are you tired of feeling like you always got to do it by yourself? Are you tired of feeling like you always got to do it by yourself? You always got to look out for your own back. Are you tired? Are you tired? God has been sitting there with you, waiting for you to get in the water. And he said, I know you couldn't trust them. I know they hurt you. I know. But this time is different because it's with me. It's as unto me. Not as unto them. Not as unto your ego. Not as unto your trauma. Not as unto that. But as unto God. Who is greater. Who is like no man. But gave us the very flesh he would walk in. So we could relate and understand he feels what we feel. But we can also feel that he feels. He feels us, but we can feel that he feels. He is concerned about you enough to send his only begotten son to give you an opportunity to trust him. God concerns himself with you. He cares about the details of your life. He cares about your thought life. So man thinketh, so is he. Or whatever you put your mind to, you can be. That means even negative things. Or you can look at it under a microscope and see that negative thoughts can also cause problems, but good thoughts can also create healing in the body as a scientific fact. You are more than what you've been through. You are more than the anxiety that you carry. You are more than that. And it's so important that you stop. When God is calling you to the water, stop looking back. There is nothing there for you. Stop looking back. There's nothing there for you. It didn't serve you when you were in it. Why are you looking for it? And this is the thing. And I say this and I love you all. I know the Lord loves us. But you only get called so many times. God is not going to keep, because see, he gave you free will. And he's walked with you this far and he's done this much. And if you at some point, he may not leave your life, he may not leave, but opportunities pass. Are you about to get this because you don't want to come into the water? Some people be like, well, I'm a believer. I think that's enough. Yeah, to get in the glory. But what about right now? What about your life today? I thought it said that he came not just so that we can have life, but have it more abundantly. Do you think that starts? If we can have hell on earth, why can't we have heaven on earth? We're so used to believe the negative, but we forget that for the negative to even exist, the light and the positivity had to exist first. You need, for you to decipher what's dark and what you got to have the opposite. So if there can be something negative, there can be something positive. If there can be something positive, there can be something negative. For people like, I don't really believe in well, space is dark. The sun is bright. Like, we constantly have contrast. But we're so easy to believe in the negative, to glorify the negative, to perpetuate it, to speak on it. I'm just talking. I'm just venting. When are you going to stop venting? Because last time I checked, venting is so you can get a solution to move forward. You just complaining and you're not doing what you need to do to change it. Nobody wants to keep hearing somebody have the same story over and over again. Even some people who ain't changing themselves, they don't want to hear it. Because we are creatures that are made to elevate and grow. And God is the elevator. You get more frustrated, more bitter when you stay in a place that does not serve you. God will make sure that you have nothing to look back at. There is no way to go back. And I know this from personal experience. And it's not that he did it to me. He just allowed for me to go through a certain thing at the same time as this thing happened. I've spoken about my had people, a lot of people, I don't want to say we all have had people this year, but I think we've all had somebody that we've lost. I've had a lot of people, it seems like back to back, year after year, that I've lost. And all of them all affected me differently. But this year, my friend The dynamic and how he worked in the industry with me and how we did so much together, I could just lean on him. I looked up to him. He was an encouragement to me and still is. And every time I just want to pause or stop, I hear him. But what that got to do with what you got to do? You want to stop because of this, but what does that have to do with you and where you're going? That sticks with me. But he's not there anymore. He's in my memories, but I can't go back. I can't go back to his studio. I can't go work with him. I can't go travel with him again. I can't go back. I got to do this now and remember what I got from that, because now I'm being called to something else. And even if he was here, there's some things he would not be able to do, but God made sure to call me at a time where I couldn't go back. What's going to happen? There's nothing left for me there. It's all gone. All I literally have are memories. I have to go forward. And since I've lost so much back there, I don't want to go back. I waited a long time to get to the place where I'm ready to run into the water. I waited a long time to really take the opportunity to show God how much I love him and that I will obey him. I can do this. I can be obedient. I can show up. At first, I didn't think I could. At first, my belief system was messed up at first. But I know I can. And there's nothing that's going to be in this life that I've come from that is big enough to make me want to stay in the past. Nothing. I know some people like, oh, they're so comfortable. But baby, I'm not comfortable. It's been very uncomfortable. But God made it up that way so that when this opportunity came, everything else was a test, was to let me know where my heart was so I could work on it. But now, it's the thing. And ain't no going back. I don't want to go back. I'm not looking behind me. I'm not trying to be a pillar of salt with Sodom and Gomorrah. I'm not going back. I'm not diving into the Red Sea. I'm not trying to save nobody back there. No, if you either with me, you with me. If you're not, you're not. And God be with you. But I can't be. Okay? I have to go forward. I have to go forward by any means necessary. By any means necessary. I am looking for God. I am listening for him. He's over the bottom of water. I'm over the bottom of water. If God's in the sky, I'm in the sky with him. If he's at the edge of the cliff and he say, jump, let me catch you, I'm over there with you. At this point, it doesn't matter how scared I am. Do you understand what I'm saying? God is there. And so I'm going to have to just be okay, because God just going to have to catch me at this point. I can't go back. Ain't nothing there for me. There's nothing waiting for me in the past. There's nothing waiting for me behind me that served me then, that I learned great things. Then I learned what I needed to learn so I can act like I need to act right now. I can't go backwards. I don't want to go backwards. I'm ready to swim. I'm ready to fly and use the wings he gave me. And some of us are going to swim, run, and fly all at the same time. We're going to have all the abilities. Just running, swimming, and flying. Jumping and flying. You know them flying fish? Just be able to do anything. Swimming in places that are so deep, people will be confused, because how do you even have the lung capacity? Shouldn't you have gills? But the lungs are still present, so that people can know that it is because of God that you can swim so low. Or you can climb a mountain so high, soar so high, that God is giving you the capacity, because naturally you shouldn't be able to do and move the way you are moving. How are you capable of swimming with no arms? I ain't going back. And I hope that you don't even try to, because you'll run into a wall. Even if you went back, there would be nothing there. You would run into a whole lot of other problems. You would never get what you had back. And sometimes that's painful. But there's so much more for you forward. A lot of things come to an end, and they don't always come to the end the way we want them to. But it doesn't mean just because they didn't come to the end the way you want them to, that greater is not on the other side of that. I remember a long time ago, um, I was I had just dropped somebody off at work, and it was fine. It was fine when I dropped them off, and I was rolling, and I was by myself, and the weather was great, and then all of a sudden a storm hits. If it we out here in Texas, a storm hits, it can look okay for 1 minute, then all of a sudden it's just a storm. And I was at the lake, and or I was driving. I was going to cross over the bridge at the lake, and to take the back way home. Those long roads. Sometimes you just want to take the back way home, and that's when the storm. I didn't. It was crazy because how the if anybody lives out in Arlington. I used to live in Arlington, and Arlington, Texas, and Joe Pool Lake, and you know how the bridge is, and you can see technically if there's rain going to be coming. Technically, you should be able to see that before you get right there. And it was like, oh, it just surprised me, kind of like, how's it all of a sudden raining? Because I wanted to go and sit at the lake, and and for a little bit, and then take that long way back home the other way, because I live in Arlington, but I was kind of on the edge of Mansfield. There's a way you can go the opposite way. So I wanted to take the back road to the other freeway and go that way. And I'm getting close to it, and then the rain hits, and it is raining heavy. And I don't get over, and I don't remember why I didn't get over, or if it was that I remember what it was, but I had to keep going straight. And I kind of hesitated because I was like, I don't want to drive over the lake. You got to go over the bridge. And don't nobody want to drive over no bridge in the rain, and heavy rain, and water. Like, that's too much water. We got water up under me, water coming down over me. That's a lot of water. Okay. And at the same time, there was nobody else. I saw somebody just leave the opposite direction off the bridge while I'm going towards the bridge. No, 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 no. And I don't know why I missed my turn to just turn off that way, and so I could U-turn. And I couldn't. God said, go ahead and go. I was like, how you be like, okay, Lord, is this even you, or is that the devil? Because what I'm not trying to do is be set up and fall. Because listen, I got a whole family. Okay, I got to get back home. Okay, and God was like, go ahead, go through the storm. I'm going to be with you. Let me tell you, I was terrified because this was just it was just right over the lake. It was just right there. It was like very isolated, but it was very stormy. I was like, Lord, there could be a whole tornado in there. I was terrified. Okay, and God said, go, and I couldn't turn around, and I was sitting there. I was like, maybe I can back up, but it's raining so bad I could back up into somebody coming behind me. Y'all, I started driving, just kind of creeping in, and he was like, I'm with you. I'm with you. Just keep going. Just keep going. And before I got all the way to the end, I was almost to the end, and I began to see the clouds break. And the way the sun came out, it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. And if y'all know how it is when you coming off the lake, it's kind of hilly, and you see the houses on the edge of the lake, and it's kind of hilly, and then the street kind of winds a little bit, and you're kind of going up. It was so pretty. All the yellow and the oranges and the rainbow-ish, all the colors in the sky right at the end. It was way more beautiful than it was before I ran into the cloud. It was a good day. I was cool. I was chilling. But the way that looked, the freshness, because everything was rich and green because the water had just hit it. And I was just like, God is so beautiful. He said, this is how it's going to be when I take you through. Some things are going to be difficult, And it may be hard, but it won't be long. But on the other side, it's going to be so much better if you just trust me. If you just trust me, I'm going to get you through it. I'm going to get you through the water. I'm going to get you through the storm. You just got to trust me. I don't need you to go back. Even though it seemed better back there, I don't need you to reverse. I need you to trust me through it. I said, okay. I said, okay. And I'm telling you this. Go with God. Because it's going to be so much better when you hit the break in that cloud. You see that sun come out and you see it's nothing but uphill after that. And on that side, there's all these beautiful houses and hills and wildflowers. It looked like a painting, but I was living it. And it was so much more beautiful after the storm, after I drove through. And this is the thing, if I would have went backwards, that's the direction the storm was going. So really, I stayed in the storm a lot shorter, because if the storm is going this way and I start going this way, then I'm going to be in the storm the whole time. And if I'm running in fear, then I can run into something. I could go backwards and run into something. And there was nobody coming or going on the bridge but me. I was on that bridge by myself. It was terrifying. And it sounds crazy to trust God. It didn't do it. Like, girl, you was crazy. You should have started. You should have hit a U or something. You should have went and backed up and tried to turn. But I could have ran into somebody because it was heavy rain. It may be heavy, but don't go back, because you're going to prolong your stay in the storm if you go back. But if you go forward, before you know it, you're out of the storm. If you go forward, before you know, you're out of the storm. It may be hard. It may be heavy. It may be overwhelming. And you may look around and see nobody there with you. You may not have a witness. It feels like you may not feel like you're sturdy, capable, equipped to be in that. But all you have to do is keep going forward. The good thing about bridges is all you stay on it. Keep looking at the road. Keep inching. Keep going forward on the bridge. Keep going forward. It's time to look ahead and not behind. You can't live off of milk when you need some sustenance. You can't live off of trying to remember old dreams when it's time to make those things reality. And I'm saying this because some people are right at that line where you don't even realize that purpose is stepping in front of you, and you keep looking back at old things. And you're right there. You're already winning. Because it feels difficult, you think you're losing. You can't always account difficulties to loss. If you ever did a sport, you know that sometimes difficulties create strength. This is what training is. Difficult, but it builds muscle. So you can run the race. And when you run the race, you have to have a certain mindset. And you have to have wisdom on how to use your body in the race. And you don't run a race the way you walk down a regular street or play tag on the playground. You don't swim in the water the way you walk on the ground. You don't fly using your legs. You fly using your wings. You are bigger than what you are living under mentally. And It has showed up at the door. And you can't continue to be moved by what it looks like from the past. Have we not talked about giving our traumas to God? This is a place of choice. And this is the opportunity. You will not get the opportunity that you have right now. And it's time to start seeing things through God's perspective and through his eyes, so you don't miss opportunities, because these are divine opportunities. They're not going to be always naturally and easy to see. But when you see it in God's eyes, you see it. You see the picture, the body. You see it for the long haul. You are in an opportunity to prove your faith, to stand on it anyway, to do well, so you can see how strong you really are. You're not seeing it, not because you're not strong, because you keep choosing before thinking. The enemy's going to try to do that, but if you don't want him to know where you are in the battle, if you don't want to give away your position, you can't keep responding to the same thing. You keep giving your position away. Can't keep responding. This applies to all of us. And God wouldn't put you in this position if you didn't have the ability to choose to not respond. You would still be in the place of provision. It may feel like provision. And God still gives provision, but you're not in the same place anymore. And if you're in a cycle, the only way to break a cycle is to start responding differently. Seeking differently, praying differently, praising him when you want to complain. Literally, like, these are actual strategies, because what you say, God says you have the power of death and life in our tongue. That means you can kill something and bring something back, because something has to die for something to live. We know this. When we have people who are vegans and like, well, we don't want to eat kill animals and things like that. Well, I have a model that plants are living creatures too, and we kill them to eat. We have to have living, and this is not to hate on vegans. I'm making a point that everything, for us to actually live, something has to be living in order to produce life, to give life to us. It has to, at one point, before we take from it, have life to give. So, what are you keeping alive that should be dead? And what are you eating that had no life? If you're eating dead things, you keep jump starting something that needs to stay dead. All mindsets. What are you doing? I'm just saying, think about it. Consider it. But it's simple. It's simple that the enemy just wants to distract and make he don't care about anything else but making you fall off, so that you do not operate in what God has given you. You already know exactly who you are. That's why he attacks you. But when you start operating in the mind of God, he can't use those strategies against you anymore. He has to try to come up with new ones. He has to go to the Bible and try to come up in everything, but and come up with a lie. Okay? What I'm saying, come up with a lie, darling. This is what he's trying to do, okay? That's what he's trying to do. Trying to keep you from believing in who God has already called you to be. Trying to keep you in that mindset. But you're going to be accountable for what you decide to do. Let God take care of the rest. Let God be the provider. Let him do that. And you just be accountable for looking for him. Anyway, I could go on. And often I do. I hope everybody understands what I'm trying to say is that if you want something new, to embrace it, you have to let go of the old thinking, and you have to put put the new thinking in God's thinking and seek God's thinking out. And it doesn't mean that you're going to just completely get over everything, or you're not going to have things come up in your mind. It just means that when it does, you you take God into consideration first before you make decisions. That's all. And then when he tells you what to do, you do that. And if you don't know how to do it, you guess what? God, show me how to do it. He right there. God holds nothing back from us. We are the ones that are limited, and these are the ones that limit ourselves. Sometimes we limit ourselves way more than we're limited. Sometimes we limit ourselves way more than we are actually limited because of our thinking. Sometimes we're not as limited as we think we are. We don't know what we're fully capable of because we're not the manufacturer of our own greatness, light, ability, talent, skills. We're not the manufacturer of that. So all these things that you're believing them from somebody who actually knows who you are, that lied about who you are and fed it to you. So when you're believing it and when you're over here acting out in the trauma of that, what beat you up and bullied you this whole time, and you're acting in that trauma, then you're not really giving God the opportunity, or yourself the opportunity, to live in the birthright of who you are. You're not giving God the opportunity to show to partner with you in life, to partner with you in business, to partner with you in parenting, to partner with you in school. You're not giving God the opportunity to be your partner in all the things that you do. He's just an option. He should be a choice. We have that thing where we're like, baby, I ain't no option. I'm a choice. I ain't no side piece. I'm the main course. And all of it in between. We say that all the time. People, we say these things, but we treat God like a side piece. You won't even treat him like the main piece. You be like, he the macaroni, I may eat it. I don't know. He the French fries, I may eat it. Sometimes we love the French fries, but then they get cold, and you don't really think they're important. I just get some more French fries later. We keep putting God over there when God is not an option. He ain't an option to come and, okay, or just a resource every now and again. He is the resource. He is the change. He is the thing that we need. He's not just some option. You want we be treating God, we be having bad relationships with God. We treating God like we just dating him. We don't want to ever get married. You know what I'm saying? Oh, we can go. I mean, we can go, but don't tell nobody. We're not exclusive. Like, that's how people treat God. Like a dating scene. And because he loves you, he shows up. But things to do with God are opportunities. But God is not an option. He is the choice. And if you can't see that, I don't know what to tell you. But if you know it enough that you got it, I talk to God when it's like this. Why are you waiting? Why are you wasting your life source and your time? Oh Lord, it's just, and I'm not saying we out here just pimping, trying to pimp out our moments with God. Like, okay, I'm gonna just use this for this over here, but I'm not gonna ask him for this. I just need him to do this to get this. You can't do that to God. God is God. That just made me nervous, the thought of it. Just, we can't treat God like, and this thing that's not gonna come back on us, just like anything. He's not an option, y'all. How you treating everybody else? How you treating yourself? If he's standard, how you treating everybody else? How are you really living your life? How are you really treating yourself? How are you really yourself? We have, we do, but not in time. Forever is for eternity. Time is limited. This makes it precious. And sometimes we just simply run out of time. Sometimes we run out of time because our life gets, people's lives end indefinitely. And sometimes we run out of time because God just moves and we don't go with him, and he's not going to. There is an opportunity to serve and commit to a choice right now. And some of people, y'all, it's weird and strange that we are having this conversation because some of us are really knocking on purpose, about to go in. But that's the strategy of the enemy, right? To make us deal with old things. But it's your choice. And I said this last, and I'm gonna say this, and then I think I'll be done. Last time when the battle of AI, AI, ironically, it's called AI. And they lost 36 men, and it wasn't because they did anything at AI. It's because of what happened at Jericho. Now they listened and they did a new thing. Praise God 7 times around, walked, marched 7 times around. At the 7th time, 7 trumpet, all that happened. The walls fell. Everything's crushed, everything. God said, covet nothing, take nothing, burn, blah, 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 all this stuff. He gave them instructions on what to do in the battles prior to that. And when it came to, I think it was Jericho or it was another place. And once again, I got to reread. I keep forgetting to reread that one. But it was before, and one of the people coveted it. And I told y'all the reason why he died, because the word of the king, which is God, had already been sent out. And we know in the times back then, a king, when he said something, it was a decree, it was a law. And they're in a time of law. All the people like this, that are this generation, people, this mentality has to die in the desert. Well, he was in a place to where he could choose God, but he acted like he had options. It's a choice. It's not an option. You can't just keep going back and forth and doing God that way. And you can't keep doing people that way. If you're doing somebody that way, you can't keep doing them that way. You can't think you can keep messing with somebody's mind and think that God don't see you and it's not going to have a consequence. You're going to have a consequence. And it's better that you stop. If you are messing with anybody's mind and going back and forth, and you don't have no good intentions. You're not ready to be commitment. Leave them be. Leave them be. I don't know who I'm talking to, but you know who you are. If you are messing with anybody's mind and you know good and well that you know they are a decent person, but you know the level of toxicity that is existing in you that you have not decided to let go of yet, but you're over here wasting their time because you're being selfish. Because you're treating them like an option when they also are a choice, and you're ruining them for somebody else that they're really meant for. You will suffer the consequences. You don't do things to people and they don't fall back on you. Just because it doesn't come the way you think it does, then does not mean it will not come. It's better to let them go, repent, and move forward. Do not mess with people and think that God is going to be okay with you. Okay? I just need to say that. But the way you treat people is sometimes the way we treat God. And sometimes the way we're being treated by somebody is also an opportunity to ask God, am I doing that? And sometimes you're not. You got to have discernment. But sometimes you keep dealing with certain types of people and certain things at your job and everything, because God's trying to get you to understand that's how you do me. You don't ask me nothing. You don't seek me out about nothing. You don't partner with me. You don't look for me on nothing. You don't do none of that. None of that. You just inconsiderate. You don't look, and I'm in the position to help you, but you don't even come to me. You roll your eyes, got a bad attitude. You take things out on me. And I ain't did nothing out of thing to you but love you and try to support you and help you be all that you can be. And you wonder why you getting treated like this at work, because you really are going through what God is going through. And people need to understand that God, we have feelings, not just for us to be like, oh, so we can express ourselves or to understand that one another too, but we also have feelings to also understand that God can feel. God can laugh. God can feel. God You know what I'm saying? If it didn't matter to God who you were, he doesn't just love us, okay? He you know what I'm saying? He has feelings behind this. Why would he send Jesus if he didn't feel something for you? You know what I'm saying? You ever hear about grieving the Spirit of God? Grief. Do you know what grief feels like? What are you? All those old things have gone. Don't go back. It's unnecessary. It's a waste. Don't lose your life, figuratively and in reality. No matter how it applies, you know who you are if it applies. Don't lose your life by holding on to old things. Okay? You are too important to God. He has stood with you this long. Go and swim with him. Go get in the water. Even if you don't run and dive, just get in. Take his hand. Let him escort you in, okay? He's going to be in there with you. He's not going to leave you by yourself. He will send people, but he ain't always going to send who you think should be sent. He's going to send you the person that you need, okay? But it's time to make a choice to align your actions with God's way of thinking. And the only way to do this is seek out him so he can tell you what to do. Because you're going to think the thoughts. You're going to be human. Okay? But he will help you operate in this new place. Because you can't go back anyway. So you might as well figure out the strategy for where you are. Okay. Well, that's it. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for listening. I'm going to pray. God, I just want to thank you for everybody that has stopped by, listened, or chimed in today. I pray that if there's anybody right now that wants to know God, that is maybe been dancing around the topic, or, don't really know, feel a little uncomfortable, feel a little secondhand embarrassment, all those little natural feelings that don't feel so little. I just want to pray with them right now. And you can do this right where you are. And God is with you right now. If you want Jesus in your heart and in your life, or you just want to renew your spirit and have that opportunity, just repeat after me. Lord God, thank you for what you said to me today. God, I ask you to come into my life and forgive me for all of my mistakes or sins that I am aware of and unaware of. God, I know that Jesus is the Son of God. I know that he is an extension of you that came to die and cover my sins. And I want him to come live in my heart and be in my life. And I confess with my mouth that Jesus Christ is Lord. And I pray you renew a spirit in me and bring me to who I am and bring me closer to you. Renew a right spirit in me and help me to be my best self. But God, help me to be my best self in you. And help me to love myself and be kind to myself and graceful to myself and forgive myself for anything that I need in every way, in Jesus' name. According to your will, let all these things be done. In Jesus' name. And bring me the right friends and company. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. So that's it. Welcome to the family. John 3:16. Start there. John 3:16. John 3:16. And Psalms 1 and 3. Now there's Psalms 4 through 6. Okay. But I want you to focus on Psalms 1 and 3. Okay. And because it talks about meditating on the word night and day, it gives you kind of a strategy to read in the morning, read in the evening, even if devotion, try to finish a whole chapter. Not a whole book in the morning, but I'm saying like a little chapter. You could download the prayer app or the Halo app. It says Halo. Hallow. HALLOW, Hallow, like Hallow be thy name, like Hallow. And so you can, those are two apps that you can download. I do have the prayer app. I only recommend the Hallow app because of the movie Chosen, not the movie, but the show Chosen. The guy that plays Jesus, he actually, I think, is part of who created the app. And so I really like the show and everything. And it just so I just saying that's one of the options out there. So the prayer app and Hallow, those are two. But I do have the prayer app. I have another app, but I can't remember exactly what it's Bible something. But if you're but if you want to download the prayer app, they actually do a Bible in the year kind of thing. And so it kind of takes you through it where you can listen and don't have to be so overwhelmed. It gives you kind of an explanation and a prayer, and it's kind of all set up for you there. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to kind of just get an understanding about the Bible, and you want some help with understanding some things, the prayer app is really good for that. It's prayer.com. It's a black square with the word prayer in white letters on it, and that you can download that, I believe Android or iPhone, tablet, whatever. You can download that app. But I really like that app. I did Bible in a year. I'm probably going to do it again because I missed some days, and and everything like that. It just goes to the next one, but you can always go back if you want to look at it. And it's like, you can listen to it. It's like 15 minutes, sometimes like about 15 minutes of just listening and every day. And so you can listen to it right when you're getting up brushing your teeth. You can listen to it on your way to work. It's really short how long it takes. It may be 15 to 20 minutes, or sometimes just 15 minutes, sometimes maybe even shorter. But they just give you a prayer. They give you a kind of what they tell you what to kind of expect in the story to come. There are a couple of commercials. Some of them are actually really good for different insurances and stuff, especially if you're a believer and things like that. They have different things. And then it's not a whole lot of overwhelming commercials, maybe like two, maybe three, but it's not really more than that usually, and they're really short. Then they get to the story. They tell you the story. It's very illustrated, so you have the different people playing the characters just to give you an understanding, and then they explain the rest of that, and then they prayer to close. So it's prayer, explanation, maybe a commercial or two, story, prayer to close. I mean, story, explanation for the rest of it, prayer to close. So you have like somewhere to kind of go, And so it just makes it a little easier when you're starting off, not to be so overwhelmed. Like, where do I start in the Bible? What do I do? Um, and if you don't have a Bible yet, what I'm saying, you can start with those type of apps. They're very helpful just to kind of make it a little easier, not so overwhelming, just so you can understand your spiritual history, because this is your history, what I'm saying, and it matters. It's like finding out family history. So reading all this and understanding all the things and where it comes from and how it comes together is pretty cool. And so just always pray for yourself, though, that God give you understanding of what you're reading before you read. And even if you forget, God you can still pray that later, like, Lord, help me to continue to get understanding of what you give me. Don't feel concerned or worried if you're not understanding something. God will give you understanding in the time. Sometimes we read stuff to retain it, or it's there. And then later on, somebody will say something. It could be weeks later, months later, and you'll be like, that reminds me of that thing I read. That's what that meant. So there's a timing for understanding. So don't feel like you have to understand everything right away. Try to read it. Ask God to give you understanding. Don't allow yourself to be overwhelmed, because God is not overwhelming, or he's not going to try to be overwhelming to you. You know what I'm saying? He's a lot, but in a good way. And remember, this is his word, but this is, they say, Bible, basic information before leaving earth. This is information and understanding to give you some context on how he moves. These are stories that happen to real believers throughout time, put together over time. And it's there to give you an understanding on how he moves and why he does the things. And you begin to see patterns in the repeating of how God's nature is, so that you can be encouraged when you're struggling. This is not necessarily, people like, well, it's Bible days and all the old things. God is not old, though. But these stories have taken time to come together, and they matter because it gives us a understanding how God is there for us. And that's what the Bible is there for. But going to a church or being part of our online service, or just gathering with people and talking with them about God, that believe in God and the blood of the Lamb covering you, not overly religious, like, or too, whatever, like they just don't care, but like people who just really after God's heart, like you are, helps you to um um stay encouraged and to know who your allies are naturally, and in a spiritual living, being aware of the spirit in the natural. So it's just God says, fail not to assemble yourself. So that means just make sure you connect with people naturally, physically, at some point, over the phone, something, going to church, that are believers. Okay. And start with Bible in the Year. They have a lot of different information on there. I know I'm a member of the Potter's House, but I'm also like a regular member too. But I started as member, but that means I watch from online, no matter where I'm traveling. It has a lot of good things. Concord does as well, and this is just in the DFW area. But you can be members to these churches and still get support. They have sister churches and they have other things abroad that they can help you connect to where you are. You see what I'm saying? Be at that physical building, but they can help direct you to a place maybe in your area, that if you need to go somewhere. And also when you're going through struggles and financial issues, if you are a part of a church, you can go to that church and get help, most likely. Say I've gotten rental assistance plenty of times, food, things like that, when I needed it. Even when I was sick, they've come to see me in the hospital. Now, mind you, I know it doesn't always work in the way that people want it to work, but I have been a recipient of good. I've also been a recipient of bad, because people are not so always good, but God is. So God will send the right people at the right time. But trust God no matter what. Don't let people tell you who God is. Seek God for yourself. And what I mean by that, by how they act. If they are treating you a certain way or being a certain way, know that they're human first, that they are human, having an encounter with God in their own way. And maybe that is a space where they're not changed that yet. And just because you are a new believer does not mean you don't have good characteristics of God, okay, or strengths in God. But it's because you're a believer that you begin to find out and see those things. So there's some people who are believers that have been believers longer, but they haven't had certain encounters with God yet. And they have immaturities because they have a different life. It doesn't mean it makes it okay for them to do what they doing, but it does mean that they have to be accountable to God for that. Okay. And you give them to God. And if somebody is treating you a certain way in the church, you can speak to them. You can have them minister, pull them in the closet, not the closet, but talk to you on one or whatever, if you feel a certain way. And if you don't get help there, then leave it where it's at and go ask God to take you somewhere else if he tells you to go somewhere else. But you do not need to be getting abused by people or something like that, because that has nothing to do with God. That has everything to do with human error. And people need to be accountable for that. And even if they don't say sorry, whatever, they need to leave you alone and respect your growth. No one needs to put you down or make you feel like you don't have what it takes to be a believer. Child, all we got to do is believe, because we all fall short. We all need God. Everybody is human first, that's trying to be do right by God. But some people, they believe, but they are self-righteous and they don't think they need to do anything different. And those people sometimes don't grow and they stay in the same place. But that's not your problem. Okay. You got to give God to people, because we don't know why people are like that sometimes, but they can be. Just make sure that you are going to be growing, and that you just remember that there's elements that we don't see, and that the enemy always tries to use us humans against one another. He tries to keep us to be negative. This is why you making this decision today is a good decision for you. And I'm happy for you. And you are supported here. Okay. So even if you don't have a church yet or anything like that, you're loved over here and you're supported. And I'm grateful for you to come and everything. And so as this grows, hopefully, who knows, we might run into each other, whatever. But you are supported here, if nothing else. Okay. You are supported right here, and you can always come back week after week and just cut it up with us, have fun, and know that you're supported, and that's it. You're loved and supported. And And that's, if any nothing else, I just want to make sure you know that somewhere you are welcomed and loved and supported. And I'm excited about anytime you show up and anytime that you decide to put anything in the comments or anything like that. So God bless you for that. And I appreciate that, because that supports and actually adds to me as a person too. Just seeing that support too, because we are really here for one another. And it doesn't matter how long I've known God. God has known all of us from the beginning of time before we even realized he knew who we were. So it really doesn't matter. All that matters is that we have positive connections as much as possible. And if it can't be positive as much as we want to, then we just make sure we just keep God in it. You know what I'm saying? And that's it. You know, we just humans first, trying to, we just one. Somebody said believers are just one beggar telling the other beggar where to get the bread. That's what TJ said. I thought that was, yeah, that's true. We just one beggar telling the other beggar where to get the bread. I'm just telling you where to get the bread. I got it over there. Okay. But other than that, thank you. And like I said, this is View from the Throne. The throne can be God's throne, but it also can be your God experience from your own purpose in life. And so we in this thing, and we're doing what we're doing. And I expect this to continue to grow and become more and more and more. I look forward to having more people on and things like that. But no matter what, if your crown is tilted, if it falls off, whatever, that's yours. Pick it up. Sometimes, hey, throw it before the Lord's feet, surrender it to him, whatever you need to do, but it's yours. And don't ever be ashamed. Okay. And know that no matter what, it'll still shine. You are important. You are royalty. Okay. So Godspeed, be safe. And I'll see y'all next time at the throne. Bye.